Okay, so here's what I think the hardest thing about scaling is, but it's going to go a lot deeper than what I'm about to say, so stick with me. So hi Maggie. Maggie, you're gonna love this one. Okay, so here's the hardest thing. And I just want to be clear, like, I feel like I know a lot about this. Like, I think we took 15 clients to six figures last year. I've taken clients from 0 to 1 million, taken clients over 1 million. Like, I know some shit about scaling, right? Hi, Jen. So here's the hardest thing. And again, I'm going to go way deeper. This is not actually the answer, but this is like the starting point of the answer. If you ever watch my live streams, you know that I'm obsessed with giving context. So hang with me for a second. The hardest thing is to let it be good and easy, right? And I think on the surface level, that's what it seems like. Like we all have a really hard time letting shit be good and easy. Like, can I get an amen? Can I get an emoji? Can you give me something if you agree with the fact that your brain as a human likes to make things hard and difficult, right? It's just what we do. It's like what we're wired for at a certain point, right? Our brains love to make shit hard and difficult. Hi, right? Like, so creepy sometimes the way I'm sitting because it's like Sarah's looking over my shoulder. It's very creepy. It's distracting me. Right, like we love to make shit hard and difficult. Brianna says yes, Jen says yes, Nikki says I know her because I do. Like it's just how our brains work. So that's one of the hardest parts, but it goes so much deeper than that. Like that is the hardest thing, but like let me frame that even more. It's hard to trust ourselves enough and to feel enough to let it be good and easy. So I'm going to say that one more time. It's hard to trust ourselves enough and to actually feel enough, like I am enough, to let it be that good and easy. Does that make sense? Talia says, yes. Brianna says, was just thinking about it. It's hard to let things be good and easy. Exactly, right? So one more time for the people in the back, it's not just that it's hard to let it be good and easy. It's hard to trust yourself enough for that to happen, and it's hard to feel good enough for that to happen, right? So in my experience, everyone hits a cap with that. Everyone. It might be at 5K months or it might be at 50K months, right? Everyone hits a cap. But there will come a time in your business, like, or rather many times in your business where you feel like you're scared as hell that you just left out, but you can't actually keep it there. You can't actually hold it there. You can't actually replicate it, right? And you will feel like it cannot be this good and easy. Something is wrong. Everyone's cap is different, right? I don't know what yours is, but I bet you do. I bet you could guess, right? Like maybe it's your first 10K month. I think that's a thing for a lot of people, right? And you're like, oh shit, yes. But at the same time, it almost feels like you don't have the landing gear to let it be yours yet, to ground around that, to know that you can repeat it, right? So many people, what they will do is they will get that money and then they will either not spend a fucking dime of it and pretend it didn't even come in because, oh my God, I probably don't even deserve that. So like it needs to sit over here. Or they'll spend it all right away. Like I cannot possibly sit in the receiving of this. Let's do something with it. Like the discomfort becomes so great, right? And even more than that, people will get so scared that they won't be able to replicate it again. And because of that, they'll sabotage in a huge way, right? Or, and here's another piece, or they'll sabotage another area of their life because they haven't expanded into their havingness, right? They haven't expanded their havingness into 10K months yet. Does this make sense to everybody? Debbie says she just did a post on trusting herself. Nikki says, yes, total receiving block, right? So this is what happens. And I use the term havingness because this is my word of the year. And I'm very passionate about it. And I'm going to tell you a whole fucking lot more about that. But I mean, this is truly it. Like, this is how you scale and don't sabotage yourself or fuck up your whole life in accordance with your scaling, is that you expand your ability to have. You build the landing gear. You figure it out. You ground into it. You trust yourself enough. You feel enough, right? And I will tell you that this is the work most people don't want to do. They want to go, oh yeah, that was like a fluke. How do I repeat it? How do I, like, what's the marketing strategy? What's the thing? What's the thing? What's the thing? Right? And listen, like, I'm not against marketing strategy. Every client I know or have knows that I'm like, what's your marketing plan? Right? But at the same time, like, that's nothing if you can't master this. That's nothing if you don't know how to have what comes in from that marketing. That's nothing if you keep sabotaging every fucking thing you do because you don't really believe you get to have what you want, right? That is why having this is the mother effing thing that's going to take you to 6 and 7 figures, and that all that other shit you're doing is just busy work unless you nail this, quite honestly. And the only clients I have that scale that fast and that far are the ones who get this, right? That's it. Maggie says, having this, yes, that is next level. Maggie gave me a smackdown today and told me that I need to talk about this more. And then I had this planned already. So it was like divine intervention. And then I have something even more that came from that. So I will share that with you soon. Claire says, this is so true. Money mindset is integral for real expansion. I mean, Claire, I agree with you about money mindset, but I think it's even deeper than that. I think it's, and I'll go into that here, but I really think it's like not just our ability to have money, it's just our ability to have good things and to let them be easy and to trust ourselves enough to have them and feel enough to have them. And I think that it's this, like, I have like a whole thing around this I'm going to tell you more about, but I think it's like even deeper, like, than like money mindset. I think it's like, can I have good things, and can I build the landing gear for sitting in that, right? And I know that seems like a confusing thing, but I promise I'm getting there. I promise, right? So where do I want to go from here? Okay, so we just talked about how a lot of people will sabotage, right? So they'll sabotage the business or the life or the whatever. They just feel like they can't have it all. And they certainly can't have it all at once. And if they're going to have in this area, they have to sabotage that area. Or if this area feels too good, they're going to fuck that up too, whatever. Now, here's something that's important that I just want to share right now. That everyone has a different level. So yours might look completely different for someone else's. Like, it doesn't mean like you're having this issues kick in at 10K months and everyone's do, right? Like, some people were really uncomfortable making 2K a month in their business. Some people don't even notice it until they're making multiple 6 figures and they're like, oh, fuck, right? It doesn't matter what yours is. It really doesn't. Like, it just matters that you start noticing it. There's not like a, there's not an important piece around that except that you start to notice what yours is, and you might hit it at several points in your business. Nikki says, yes. Claire says, totally. See that? Beautiful. Okay, so here's what I've found, and this is probably going to piss some people off, but stick with me for a second. It's just easier to create from a deficit, right? I think so many of us think, well, if I had everything I wanted, it'd be so much easier to create more. If I already felt good, it would be so much easier to create more good things. And there's some truth in that, right? There is some truth in that. Like, you have to feel what you want to pull in, and I'll explain some of that later. But the truth is, it's easier to create from a deficit, right? See whole, fill whole is easier than build new thing on top of whole, right? So it's easier to create the 5K months if you're having this point says that's the minimum, right? It's easier to create from a deficit. Does that make sense? So like, if my having this level says, like, I'm comfortable with 5K a month, like, I should receive that, and I don't have that, it's easier to create from the deficit. So if I believe I should have something and I don't have it, it's easy to create from that. That deficit makes it so fucking simple to get what I want. Does that make sense? So that's why expanding your havingness is so key, because you have to keep expanding your level to have, because the easy thing is to create from a deficit, right? And so the point of that is, it's why some people can like quit a job, right? And then the next month they're like, well, I quit my job, but I'm already making 5K in my business. It's on par with their having this level. It's also why some people stay stuck for so fucking long, even though they're doing all the right things. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Yes, yes. You know what I mean, right? Where you're like, well, that happened so fast for her. She made X in her business so fast. hashtag happiness, right? Or like, I'm doing all the things and I'm still not getting the result, hashtag havingness, right? Because you have to have the ability to receive the things. You have to expand into that, right? And this is why it's so important to scaling to 6 and 7 figures, because for some of us, it doesn't kick in until then. Like when we're nearing that, consistent 10K month, when we're nearing the 6-figure mark, when we're nearing the 7-figure mark, whatever it is, like everyone's will kick in somewhere. And if you know how to move through it, you're going to find success. And if you're not sure how to move through it, which I'm going to tell you in a minute, you're going to find it very difficult. And none of the strategies are going to pull you through it, quite honestly. You're just going to do more and still have the same level of havingness. Does this make sense? Does anybody have an example of this? I would love to know if you are like having a moment where you equate this to something. So personally, I'll tell you my example. Personally, for me, I was really good at expanding my havingness in my business when I was going through a divorce, unhappy with my body, in debt, right? It was so fucking easy for me to expand my havingness during those times. Like when I was going through a divorce, I was like, I'm going to fucking make this business work. I am going to make money in this business. Like I am on that. Like my havingness was high in my business at that point, right? And same when I was, still in debt, same when I was like really unhappy with my body. Like there was something about that made it comfortable for me to receive in my business and for me to have greater financial abundance in my business. I don't know what it is. And like, again, everybody's different, but for me, that was the experience, right? Oh, Nikki, I love you. Thank you. That like almost made me cry because that was just like a very generous offer. Oh, I like have tears. So Nikki is one of my beautiful friends and clients, and she has a story of havingness for sure, in the sense that she grew her business to like the 600K mark, was absolutely fucking crushing it, retired her husband, all this stuff, like had the house and the life and the body and the relationship and the everything, and just totally, self-sabotaged under some of that pressure because, right, her havingness hadn't caught up. And so the self-sabotage comes fast because you're like, I cannot possibly have all the things I want. Something is going to fall apart. And so I might as well help that process, right? It's like we just take ourselves back to baseline as fast as we can, right? Nikki, I love you. Thank you for letting me share that, right? And so mine was similar in the sense that I was really comfortable expanding my income when other parts of my life were crappy, right? When I was like going through the divorce, in the debt, whatever. It was like I was fine filling the hole. Is that what I'm trying to say? Hold on. When I try to use analogies, sometimes I confuse myself. But I love analogies so deeply. If you're my client, you know that analogies are my thing. Oh, right. Yep. So I was fine filling the hole. It was like, well, I'm going through a divorce, so it's okay to like fill the hole with more money, right? Oh, because I didn't have Lacey. Love you. Right. And so that felt okay to me. And like I was able to expand my business. But then, as my money and my health and my love life and all of that, it started improving, I started getting uncomfortable. Like, so last year I made like 400K. I paid off my student loan debt. I moved in with like the best guy in the whole world. I lost weight that had been hanging around for a few years. And then I got massively fucking uncomfortable. Like I started noticing huge levels of discomfort. I was so fucking scared of losing it all. I was like scared of expanding into more. I was scared of expanding into more. My words got jumbled. And I was scared of losing it all, right? And I was so scared that like maybe I didn't deserve to have it all. Like almost like, well, was this a fluke, right? Hey, Lisa, have you read The Big Leap? This sounds super similar to hitting your upper limit. Tina, I think it is similar in the sense that it's like, there's a comfortability in that. But I think for me, having this is almost like, I'm trying to explain the difference, but I totally agree that it's sort of the same. But for me, it's like upper limit is more like next level, next level, next level. And for me, having this is like here and now, groundedness, like letting it all be good now. I don't know if that makes sense, but totally, I get what you're saying. Very similar. Yes, fine with one thing, but like we can't possibly have it all, right? Exactly, exactly. So it's like the uncomfortability is so high because we're like, I literally just can't have it all be this good, right? I can't like ground into it. I can't like hold the space of like, this will continue, right? And so that happened for me. I was like so scared. So anyway, I picked having this as my word of the year because I really wanted to work on that. And then in the last 5 months, I have been like so deep in the exploration of that. Like, if you know me, you know I take my word of the year very fucking seriously. Last year, my word of the year was love, and I think I fucking nailed that this year. And I nailed it because I live into it daily. Like, having this is my word. It's everywhere. It's like in front of me. It's over here. It's like what I'm like eating, sleeping, breathing kind of thing. So here's what I have found that has been so useful in these last 5 months. And I want to share it because it will be the absolute biggest impactor of your ability to scale to the 6-figure mark, the 7-figure mark, and beyond without sabotaging your business or your life, right? Because what I'm here for is for you to live a lit up life, right? So if you get the money but not the life, or if you only let yourself have the money because of the life, blah, blah, blah. Not great. Does that make sense? Okay, so your ability to have is directly related to 3 things that I have come to find. Self-trust, enoughness, like feeling enough, and gratitude. Self-trust, enoughness, and gratitude. If you don't have those things, you may be able to create some things, but your ability to have those things will be totally different, right? So it's like Nikki so graciously let me use her story. She was able to create a ton of shit, but her ability to hold the space for having that shit long term wasn't there, right? Same with me. Like, as soon as I created all the things I want, I was like, I am so fucking uncomfortable. Like, I do not have the gear to land this plane right now. Like, I got the plane off the ground, but I don't have the gear to land it, right? So it's like, I can create it, but how do I keep it and have it, right? And that is just such a different thing. So sometimes we can create without having. Does that make sense? It's like I can create the money, but then I get rid of it really fast or whatever, right? And so those 3 things are the things: self-trust, enoughness, and gratitude, right? And until you master those, you will keep creating holes and deficits to create from instead of creating abundance from abundance, right? So what I mean by that is you will tend to burn shit down so you can build it back up. So you're always in creation mode, right? Versus like building and building and building, right? It almost becomes like well, I'll self-sabotage, create the hole, fill the hole. I'll self-sabotage and crash the plane, then I'll rebuild and fly the plane, but I still won't be able to land it, right? We create from holes and from deficits. And so the hardest thing is creating abundance from abundance. I'm in this this funny, I don't know what I'm gonna say, like a funny experience, I guess, but it's not really funny. It's just interesting where a few of my clients are, how do I want to say it? I just want to be careful because you guys know I'm like obsessed with integrity and privacy with my clients. But a few of my clients come from a lot of money and come from families that have money and are trying to build businesses from a place of already being totally abundant. And what I always remind them, right, is that creating abundance from abundance is actually the master level shit. And it's hard to hear that, and it's almost triggering to hear that if you're like, I'm not in abundance and it's hard as fuck to create it. Well, it's still having this. But creating abundance and a higher level abundance from already feeling abundant, honestly, I think it's the hardest. And I think what I see with clients that are trying to scale to 6 and 7 figures, it's the hardest by far. So I just want to like give voice to that creating abundance from abundance is like the hardest thing you can do. It's why it's like that whole idea that I started with, which is like letting things feel good and easy. It's creating abundance from abundance, right? And Natalia says, yes, that was me until you came into my life. Thank you, girl. So that's kind of the point here is like the more you can expand your having this level, the more you can create abundance from abundance, right? Instead of feeling like you have to keep doing that, like create the hole, burn it down to go back to it. So one thing that I think is interesting here is that in manifesting, which I talk about a lot, and I especially talk about a lot as far as it relates to happy thoughts, which is we talk about being in the outcome, right? And honestly, this is the thing. This is the thing, and I'm going to tie it all together here, because most often your outcome, whatever it is, involves you feeling totally in trust with yourself, totally enough, and totally in gratitude. No matter what your thing is, if it's the body or the life or the money or the business or whatever, totally in trust with yourself, totally enough, and totally in gratitude. So these are like, the havingness is such a foundational and integral part of like being able to manifest and create more, right? Because we talk about being in the outcome. Well, there are very few outcomes that you're trying to manifest that don't include those things, that don't require those things. Like nobody wants to manifest a 10K month where they then feel like, but I don't trust myself to recreate that. Right? Nobody wants to manifest a 10K month where they then feel not enough to receive it. No, like most of our outcomes involve those three components, and that's why they're non-negotiables for having this, right? So if you're trying to skip over those and trying to manifest what you want, you're gonna have such a hard time. You may get it, but sustaining it, it's probably not gonna happen, to be perfectly honest, right? And so what we have to do, and I promise I'm getting to the fucking point here, what we have to do is be able to figure out how to expand our happiness level. And I feel like I have done so much work on this in the past 5 months. I intend to do so much work on this in the next 7. But there is something that I've come to. There is something that I've been using, and I'm going to share it with you now because I think it is so mother effing helpful. And I really think, I'm going to re-say that. I know if you do this and if you use this model I'm about to give you, it will change your life and business. Like I can say that with the most confidence, with the most clarity, with the most certainty. If you actually do this work, it will change your life and business. If you do all the other work and not this work, it's still gonna get, oh, I just burped, excuse me. It's still gonna feel hard. It's still not gonna feel easy, right? You're gonna be able to create the shit, but you're not gonna be able to land it, right? You're gonna be able to have the moments, but you're not gonna be able to keep it steady. Right? Does that make sense? Yes? Picking up what I'm putting down? Okay. Okay, so here's the havingness model. It's basically 6 questions that you can ask yourself to figure this out, to figure out like what you need to do here, what you going to do to get to your next level of havingness. And I'm going to tell you the 6 questions. And I'm going to walk through them. So let me just pull them up. Okay. Here are the questions I've been using, and this has been so helpful. I'll tell you the questions first, then we'll kind of walk through them. So here's the havingness model. What is the story I'm currently telling myself or experiencing? Duh, that's an important one. You know, the story might be like, I can't make more money because then something bad will happen, or I'm not gonna nail this launch, or I'm never gonna make 6 figures because I don't have the time. Like whatever the story is that you're telling yourself, right? Here are the kickers, and I've talked about these a little bit here and there before, but I've really been like, this is an important thing to say. I'll get back to the questions, but I've really been trying. So something that's really important to me, I'm about to go off on a tangent for 2 seconds, but I promise it's important. Something that's so fucking important to me in my business is to be doing it before I share it or sell it. The thing that I think is absolute shit in the online space is when people are preaching a lot of shit that they're not doing. Doesn't mean you have to be perfect at it. Doesn't mean you have to have the perfect result. Doesn't mean any of that shit. But if you are selling or preaching something that you're not doing, I don't have any time for that. I hate that. That is like my biggest pet peeve. It's like people that are like, you should do mindset work daily. And that then are like, well, what's mindset work again? And like, what would that look like for me? And how do I even do mindset work? And what is it? What the what? Like, I'm not saying you have to be perfect at it. I'm not saying you have to know all about it. I'm not saying you can't get support or mentorship around it. I'm just saying that if you out there saying it, you best be doing it. So my point in saying this is I've dropped these questions here and there in different places, but it's important to me to be like doing the shit before I tell you about the shit. So the point is, you've probably heard these sprinkled here and there, but this is what I've been doing and it's been working. Maggie says that having this model, yeah, I feel having this challenge in our future. Ooh, Maggie, you're just like pushing the needle today. Okay, so here's the having this model. What is the story I'm currently telling myself? Would that story be different if I felt enough? How so? Would that story be different if I trusted myself fully, and how so? And would that story be different if I was in gratitude, and how so? You see my point there? Enoughness, gratitude, self-trust. And then what's the new story I want to create from a place of enoughness, self-trust, and gratitude? And then what are the aligned actions I can take based on this new story? Right? So I'm going to walk you through, and am I going to walk you through an example? I'm probably not going to walk you through an example, but I'm going to explain the questions. I also have something you can download that gives you all the questions, gives you a worksheet to fill out, and gives you, I think, 4 examples of me using this. So that's something that, do I have the link? I do. That's something that I will drop here, which is why I won't go through them now because you can just read them. But I will go through why each question is important. But there's the link. Okay, so here's why the questions are important. So first question, what is the story I'm currently telling myself? Well, that's important because the first step is like acknowledging that you're telling yourself a story, quite honestly. You know what I mean? Like you have to be in a place where you're willing to own that there is a story that you're telling yourself or experiencing. So for me, you know, story I was telling myself or experiencing when I like started getting everything I wanted was like, it's too good to be true. This can't last. And I had to realize that that was not an accurate statement, but a story I was telling myself, an experience I was creating, right? But from that place, it's easier to rewrite it, right? Hey, Nico, thank you for joining me. The next one is, would that story be different if I felt enough, and how so? I ask my clients this question all the time. Would this be different if you felt enough? And you can like insert 100 different things here, right? Like, I don't know if I should live stream this week. Should I go live this week? Do I even need to? Would that be different if you felt enough? Like, would we even be having this conversation if you felt good enough to jump on live stream this week? Guess what? The answer is almost always no, right? Because the problem isn't should I get on live stream or what should I talk about? The problem is that I don't feel enough. You know what I mean? Thank you, Lena. And so if you can like stop yourself in the madness, like it's so much easier to go, would this be different if I felt enough? Because if you did, you would be running your business from a much clearer, cleaner place. And the strategy and the steps would be so easy. If you don't feel enough, you're always going to be making a decision based on that and not on what's actually best for your business. And also it's going to expand your having this level because it's going to start teaching you how to program your brain to feel enough, right? How would this be different if I felt enough? Well, I'd get on live stream, I'd share that post, I'd do that thing, right? Here's my example. I would believe that it was okay to have all of this and that I deserved to have all of this. And I wouldn't be sitting here thinking I wasn't enough to have all these good things and so one must go away, right? Like fascinating, you know? The next one is, would that story be different if I trusted myself fully? How so? I mean, this self-trust piece is no joke. Like to run a business and not trust yourself is the hardest endeavor I could possibly think of. I haven't had a baby yet, but I also think maybe to have a baby and not trust yourself would be very hard too. But I don't know. I can't speak to that. What I can speak to is what I know, which is running a business and not trusting yourself is the fucking toughest, right? So when we look outside ourselves all the time, where we try to find every other perfect thing, whatever, and honestly, like if you think you're getting to 6 or 7 figures without self-trust, you got another thing coming. Like that is not a bridge you can cross unless what you do is just like keep paying someone to tell you the one exact next step, and then you're going to be so scared that it's all going to fall apart or that that person's going to go away or something, that you're still not really expanding your havingness. You know what I mean? And so would this be different if I trusted myself is such an important question, and like such a non-negotiable, because when you get to whatever outcome you want, like say it's 6 figures, you don't want to get there feeling like, oh, but I cannot sustain this. Of course, the manifestation, the outcome you want is to get there feeling like, and what up, 7 figures? Because I know how to do this, because I trust myself, because I can get there. Does that make sense? So when you can ask yourself that question, like, would this be different if I trusted myself? It's going to reveal so much to you, and you're going to say how it would be different. And that's going to reveal even more, right? Would this story be different if I was in gratitude? I'm about to piss you off. But I see so many people that just want the next thing and the next thing and the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and spend little to no time being in gratitude for the current thing. Or they go, yeah, I'm grateful for that, but I'm ready for this. Okay. Right? I think that most people that are going, I don't have the results I want, I don't have the results I want, I don't have the results I want, are just not all that grateful for what's already come to them. And I know that's super fucking triggering, but honestly, it's true. Right? It just is. It's really, really hard to be in a feeling of gratitude and then ramming enoughness down your own throat. I mean, I'm grateful, but it's not enough. I'm grateful, but it's not enough. Like, it doesn't work like that. Right? And I think that gratitude is something that sounds so woo and cheesy and something we can undervalue. And quite honestly, I have like second guessed putting out this model a time or two, because I thought, well, fuck, enoughness, self-trust, and gratitude, that's the biggest eye roll. But I'm putting it out because I just know it's true and I just know it works. And it's easy to eye roll and it's easy to go, yeah, sure. But honestly, it's the work. And it's why it's such an eye roll sometimes, because it's so simple. But if you can be in gratitude in the current situation you're in, it's so much easier to get to the next one. If you can expand into the havingness of what you currently have, it's so much easier to get to the next one. If you are not even in grateful, or if you are not even in gratitude for what you already have, do you really think it's going to be easy to expand into the next level and to have all that? It's not. If you're not grateful for that one client and really, really embodying that, the likelihood that you get 2 is small. Right? And so when we're going, well, I want this next thing, I want this next thing, it's like, but have you really embodied the gratitude for what you currently have? Even if it's one client, even if it's one like, right? So many people are like, God, I wish I could get more engagement. Well, have you like sat with the thankfulness for every motherfucking person that gave you engagement already? And I'm being an ass about this, but honestly, the reason I am is because I really think that it's a game changer. And I think that it is the thing that helps you go to the next level, combined with the other things, of course. But I think the gratitude one's kind of taking the cake. You know what I'm saying? Lena says gratitude is abundance. Absolutely. Maggie says, I like that I say this to clients. The truth will set you free, but first it might piss you off. Maggie, that is good. The truth will set you free, but first it might piss you off. Yes. Oh, Maggie, I love you so much. This model will change the world. You're the best. Not when it's in this context and you're showing someone how it's what's holding them back. You're amazing. Thank you, Nikki. Right. So if you're not feeling the gratitude for what you currently have, it's so hard to expand your happiness level, right? It's so hard to expand into the next. So I'm like not taking my shirt off here. Sorry, my hair is just stuck. So for me, when I was, getting all the things I wanted, I spent so much time making an effort to sit in the gratitude for that, to sit in it. And I would find myself wanting to not, like, I would find myself wanting to be like, oh, but Kenny's not really that great. Fuck him, whatever. Because it was more comfortable than being like, no, he's like the best guy ever and I need to sit in that, right? Because the uncomfortability is so high. But if you can expand into the gratitude for what you have, it's so much easier to get to the next thing. So that's why that question is so important. And it's an easy one to jump over. And it's why I'm taking more time on it, because everyone will be like, yes, yes, yes. Gratitude check. But like, really though, right? And then the next one is, what's the new story I want to create from a place of enoughness, self-trust, and gratitude, right? I mean, that's the whole thing. It's like, if I bring these three things to the table, I have an entirely new story. The story is that I totally deserve to have it all. The story is that I trust myself to keep creating it all. The story is that I'm so grateful for what I already have. And the story is that I get to keep living into that, right? You know, it just changes the game. And you might have to do this often and a lot and remind yourself of it. Certainly I do this, I almost want to say daily, but I don't know if it's quite that much, but I definitely work these questions a lot. Especially like in triggering situations, or in situations where I feel like I want to do a little sabotaging, or I want to you know, burn something down to build it back up, because that's the easy way, honestly, right? Like, if I had a deficit tomorrow, I know I would create from that place. Like, there's almost this way of like, oh, if this ship burned down tomorrow, you best believe I'd have a 20K month the next month in a new business or whatever, right? But that's not what I want. I don't want to keep doing that, right? I want my having this level to stay steady and increase, right? So what's the new story I want to create from that place? Obviously, that's clear. And then the last part, and I think this part's really important too, because new stories are nothing without action that backs them up, right? So what are the aligned actions I can take based on this new story? And that's the bitch, because you have to take actions that are aligned with the new story and not the old one. And that's hard, and it takes a lot of effort. And that's where you change your having this levels with the actual actions around it, right? And so what are the actions I take from this place? Like, let's use the live stream example. Like, I just go out and do a bunch more of them. That's the aligned action from like, I'm enough, I trust myself, and I'm in gratitude for everybody that's already watched, right? You know, it's like I go put out that new thing I've been so excited about, and I don't expect that like my income is going to tank, or that my boyfriend's going to leave, or that, you know, like I'm going to build up a ton of debt because I like go launch this next thing that's so important to me, right? I actually had to do the having this model recently because I launched something really exciting to some of my clients that have been with me for a long time. And when I went to do that, there was this part of me that was like, this is like too good. And I was like, I have to ask myself these questions. Like, yes, I'm enough. Yes, I trust myself to do this. And yes, I'm so grateful. And yes, I have to create a new story. And then the action from that place is to go launch the fucking thing, right? But to be honest, it would have been so easy for me to be like, that's a little too much. Like, my having this level is like comfy right here, but I definitely can't step into that. But like, if I want to expand it, and if I want to keep stepping into it, that's the only option, is to ask myself these questions and then take aligned action from that place, right? It's kind of that simple. One of my clients recently asked me kind of about the like being in the outcome mentality. Is like, if you're in the outcome, wouldn't you just not take the action? And I think what the model helps you to see, or the happiness model helps you to see here, is that of course you would take the action. You would always take the action, because if you believed all these things, the action would always be something you would do. You would never just sit on the couch and not do anything, right? Like, if I believed I could have it all, I'd be out there every day showing up like that was true and taking action like that was true. I wouldn't be sitting on the couch going, okay, let it come to me. Like, that's not at all aligned, right? And so that's why the last question is, what are the aligned actions I can take? Because you have to take actions that back up the fact that you are going to step into believing this new story. And I had talked about this last week, but kind of like mindset and strategy pulling each other forward, or mindset and action. Like, if I'm like, okay, I'm creating this new story, then I take action based on it, they're going to pull each other forward, right? So you'd say that is a way you know you've moved through this, is now you're taking consistent action. Well, move through it. I don't know if I would go that far. And what I mean by that is I think I'm probably always going to bump up against this in different ways, if that makes sense, Nikki. Like I think as soon as like something else great happens, like I hit the next income level, or, you know, I have the next relationship milestone, or I do the next big thing in life, like I think they will keep coming up. So I don't know that there's ever like a move through it point, but as far as this particular example I was using of like launching the program, I think I moved through that phase of it. But then like, say we get into the program and everyone's getting amazing results, I might have to go back through this. Like I might have to be like, oh my God, I'm feeling so uncomfortable with everyone having such amazing results and this going so well, and it just seems so too good to be true. Is someone gonna like get upset and leave tomorrow? And so then I would redo all of these questions, right? And so the reason I like having these questions, so I actually recently recommended Byron Katie's The Work to one of my clients, because I think it's such a good intro to just like thought reframe. And I think it's so beautiful to have like a container. And you guys know me, I talk about that all the time. Like containers to do things in are so life-changing. And so that's why I've been so obsessed with creating this way of thinking about it, because I think having the container with which to process through this is what has helped me to move through it more. If I was just like, okay, well, like I have to expand my having this level, what even is that? That would be really hard for me, because I wouldn't really know. It's sort of like when we say to people, reframe your thoughts. If you've never done that, that can feel hard. And it's why like Byron Katie's The Work is so useful. And so for me, that's why this has been so useful, is because it's like a tool to use over and over and over and over and over again. So when I'm feeling that difficulty, I'm like, I have a thing for that, right? Doesn't mean it's not hard, doesn't mean it's not still work, but it means like I have a solution, so to speak, for that. A solution might not even be the perfect thing, but you get what I'm saying. Like I have a path, right? And so for me, that creates a lot of like safety and groundedness, because I'm like, well, I'm going to go do the having this question. I'm not like, okay, I'm like really uncomfortable. WTF do I do with it? Does that make sense? Okay, so I hope this was super helpful. I have been so fucking excited to share this with you. I have found a lot of comfort in this the past few months, and I think that you will find a lot of not only comfort, but expansion within it too. For me, it's like helped me expand so much more with a greater level of comfort. So if you want it, I'm going to share the link one more time. Basically what you get is like a template of the question, so you can like print it, fill it out over and over again, use it again and again, right? Because ideally you're going to use this a ton, because you're going to be expanding, you're having this a ton to 6 figures and then 7 figures and so on and so forth, right? And it gives you a bunch of examples. So I think I walk you through 4 examples, like having the body, having a successful launch, getting the next client, and I think maybe I did 7 figures too. I should know these things, but my brain's all excited about this conversation and apparently it's forgotten. But I think that those are the 4. So anyway, it's helpful in the sense that if you're like, I kind of get the question, but I don't even know what like direction I would go in answering it, it will walk you through that. So download it, enjoy it. I keep saying I think. I know it will help you tremendously, and I would love to hear your experiences with it. So if you are watching and you go use it, come back and tell me how it went. If you have questions about this after using it, happy to answer any and all of those. Come back and give me a comment. And if you're watching live or the replay, I would love to know, like, what do you want to expand your having this into? So, right, it might be like 10K months. It might be like having, you know, the relationship and the business. It might be getting the second client, whatever it is. I think it's so useful to be able to, number 1, put words to that, but number 2, to also just kind of acknowledge that we're all at different points with expanding that level. But like, the process applies everywhere. And that for me is what's exciting about this. For me, it's like mindset, strategy, execution, where it's like the process applies everywhere. If you're at no clients or 50, the process applies. And for me, the having this is the same. Like the process applies. And so whatever you're having this needs to expand into, this is here for you. I think you're going to love it. I'm really excited about it. Like really excited about it. And I think you will be too. Nikki says having 6-figure income. Yes, yes, yes. All right, beautiful. Keep me posted. Let me know. I love you guys. Here for any questions you have now or after you download it. And thank you for listening to me. I think this is kind of a long one today, but so helpful, so important, and going to change your life and business if you let it. So I hope you guys have a beautiful week, and I will talk to you soon. Can't wait to hear your experience with it. All right, bye, y'all.